G'day everyone, welcome back to Sully's Rods and Customs. What I'm going to talk to you tonight about is wiper motors. Everyone's worst nightmare on a Kingswood. They always seem to give people grief. Searched a few other people's channels and sites to see what they've done with them. Trying to get them working. In this instance, I had the wiper motor plugged in, power would battery it up, power on. Turn the switch on, it would run fast, would run slow, pump would work, but wouldn't park the wiper. So in other words, the wipers would go across, and wherever you stop them, they would stop instead of hitting where they're supposed to go, then come back to their normal park position. So I'll show you what I come up with here and what I worked out. Hopefully it helps someone out. So just let me flip this camera back around. Flip the camera around. That didn't work. All right, so as you all know what a wiper motor looks like for a Kingswood. There it is down the back down there. It was a brand new wiper motor. Took the pump off it, the mechanical pump off the front of it, and you can buy those adapter plates or blanking plates where the pump used to go, and then you can run a separate harness. You can get it from Kingswood Country. That's where that blanking plate came from, Kingswood Country. But when I had the harness itself rewired, I sent the harness away to a guy down in Melbourne somewhere, and he rewired it, used all the existing plugs, which you can see it has brand new cable inside it and all new pins and terminations inside. So what happened in this instance was I had no ground to the wiper motor. You can see there's a wire there now. So this wire here is my ground wire. Usually there's a brass strap on there, but when we purchased this wiper motor, it didn't come with one. So the brass strap usually goes to your firewall and grounds in the firewall. When I smoothed out the firewall, I removed that screw hole where that ground used to go. So that really stuffed me up. It really sent me on a bit of a wild goose chase. Couldn't work out why everything looked like it was plugged in, but nothing was working. Anyway, so I went, researched through it, looked at a few other YouTube channels and stuff. And if you look at this over here now, so what I'll do is I've got the battery connected. If I go into the car, let me just move that light here. If I go into the car and I show you, dash is still a bit of a mess because I haven't got it all corrected yet, because I haven't got all the wiring sorted out. But if I put this light here and I turn the actual key on, you can see I get the ignition lights up. And if I turn this switch, you can hear the wiper motors go. But when I turn it off, you hear how it stops. Doesn't actually return. So this is that wire I was just showing you about. It's that ground wire. I haven't hooked it up somewhere yet. I haven't worked out where to put it. But that's that wire that I put on the front of the wiper motor. So if I just connect it up to, I'll just jam it in here somewhere. This is my dash lights. If I just sort of jam it in here, you can see where I jammed it. I'll just show you. I just found somewhere that has a ground. You can see just there, I shoved it in there. If I turn the wiper motors on and I turn them off, see how when I turned it off, you watch the wiper motor stalk. You'll hear the click when I turn it off. Oops, that was my light gun coming a cropper. Let me just fix that up again. We'll do that one more time. So if I turn the switch on like normal, so you know I'm not bullshitting here, I'll turn the switch on there, and you'll see when I flick the switch off now, because it's got a ground on it. Oops, wrong one. Hear how it keeps going and parks the wipers. There's no wipers on it at the moment, obviously, because there's no windscreen in there. So yeah, I've just got to find a position for this wire in the engine bay somewhere, nice and tidy. Because I have this WB brake booster and master cylinder in here, what I've also got to do is I have to buy the connection or the plug that goes into the brake warning light. It's a brake warning light or the low level light in these. And the normal HQ brake warning plug is just like a round pin. I don't know if we can see that there. That's just a round pin. But in the end of that, there's a double pin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ground one side of it, and I'm going to put the other pin in. So it seems to be a common connector, very similar master cylinder on WB, VB, VC, all those sort of V ranges of Commodores. This is a very similar plug, even up to VX, I think it's the same sort of plug. So I'm going to go to a local wrecking yard. Can't find the actual plug anywhere. I might try an auto electrician first, because I'm trying to put everything new in this car where I can find it. If I can't, I'll have to find something else from a wrecking yard, cut a tail off, rewire them in there, and I'll run a ground off, and I'll also run this wire into it, and I'll run the ground also to that ground wire you can see I've put on the harness. I was just trying to keep it as neat as possible. Big dirty brass strap won't look great there, but this little black wire, which will run off with this loom when I do it, I'll have it all loomed up in with there, and I'll bring it down to the bottom down here. I'll ground it. I found that the ground for the connector for the brake pedal, which is right down, I don't know if you can see it, it's right down the bottom under, let me see if I can bring this camera around, not enough light, but yeah, the back of the brake pedal, it's right there. See where my finger is? That's the back of the brake pedal bolt. Has a good ground on it, so I'm going to take the bolt out from under the dash for the pedal, put a longer bolt in there, and put a nut on it underneath so you can't see the ground. It'll be right down the bottom there. I've also added another ground off the battery. Just trying to get used to this gimbal phone camera holder here. So you can see I put a separate, there's one ground, there's the main ground that goes to the body of the motor, which is through those alloy brackets there. There's a second ground, which is the standard one that comes with this harness that goes to the radiator support. It's actually down. Oh, hang on a second. Get this camera to come around. It's actually just there, and I put an extra one from the battery to the body, battery to the chassis. You can see there. So then it goes battery to engine, battery to chassis, battery to radiator support. And I'm also going to take one somehow from the chassis somewhere, I don't know where yet, from the chassis down to that bolt that I talked about down the back down there. So it has a really good ground, which will take all the grounds through to under the dash as well. And that should alleviate any of the issues I have with bad grounds. So to work out some of the problem I had before, let me just turn this camera around. So what you can see down here, I'll zoom out a bit, is my little my attempt at checking if this, because I thought the fault might have been in that wiper motor, and then I thought the fault might have been in the actual switch for the wipers, which is in the car. So what I'll do now is I'll simulate the problem that we're having, right? So if you look at, this is the switch. I've just connected an active. The active from the battery goes to the yellow pin in the harness. What I've got here is just an old harness that I still have around, just a backup one. So the yellow goes directly to power. The black comes out of this harness, and it goes to the pin inside this wiper motor here. You can see this, how it's plugged in here. There's black there, white, yellow, and light blue. Dark blue goes to the pump. The pump is down the back over here. This is the old style mechanical pump. So it has a ground, so it has its yellow power through internally. There's a wire internal through the wiper motor to the back of that pump. This blue is its ground signal for making the pump actually click and pump. and you can hear it when the wiper motor is running. You can hear it come. It sort of pumps that water through, and it comes out those two ports there. This clamp I've got here is just grounding. This is that brass strap I was telling you about that goes from the body of the wiper motor to the firewall, and that's the ground issue I was having on the car. So what I've done here is this is the blue pin that goes onto the pump lug. I put a ground from here. Sorry, that's come off. Let me just click that back on there. Give me 2 secs. So like I was just saying, I just click that back on there. There's a ground wire from there running to the battery, so it's grounding. It's like grounding that strap really. Also is grounding that lug because it's a grounded wire anyway, that blue. These plugs are all just plugged in like normal. You can see them into that lug. There's supposed to be, I don't know if you can see it there, but I might just bring this light down a bit. Hopefully that's a bit better for you. There's supposed to be a bit of a lug on the back of this plug so you can't put it in backwards. And there's a lump on the other side. There's a groove in that side and a lump on this side. And there's supposed to be a lug on the wiper motor so it slides in down there. Anyway, so if I run this without grounding everything, you can see I can turn the switch on here. What am I missing? I've got to ground the actual switch. So there you go. So if you don't ground the switch, you can see so the switch gets ground through the dash, which is why I'm going to run that extra ground over there. So I've got a good ground under the dash. But you can see I can switch it on and off, nothing happens. I can press the button for the pump, but it makes the wiper motor kick and run. But as soon as I ground it, as soon as I ground that switch, which will be grounded to the dash, you can see I'm just grounded to the battery ground there. I turn the switch on. Wiper motor runs normally. Turn it off. It resets back to park position. Run slow. Run fast. Back to slow. What's it? Home anyway. Then it rehomes the wiper. So yeah, you've got to make sure. My point with this video is make sure your dash has a good ground, and this just gets ground through that little. Don't know how well you can see it. See there where I've got not that side. See here where I labelled this switch. Where I've got that G just there. This metal body, where these three lugs go, they connect with the dash. So I took the one off for the dash that I have in the car, cleaned up all the lugs so they were raw steel, cleaned up the dash in that same position so it was raw steel, got a good ground to it, but I didn't have a good ground wire to the dash, so it wasn't working that great. But yeah, it grounds through these lugs when you screw it in there. It connects up to that little pin right there. It has a little lug sticking out through the plastic body of this, and it's crimped over the top of it. It's not that clear, but right there where my thumb is, it's crimped over the top of it, and it makes that ground signal. So I've got a ground off the body. If you're interested in knowing what the wiring's like, see how they're 4 staggered pins? The lug closest to me, which is a staggered one, is the white wire that runs off your harness. See where I've just pinned them in the back of it there, just temporarily. This, the first one, so the white one's the one in the middle there. This first one here is dark blue. No, it's not. It's light blue. Sorry, what is that first one? The first one is black. Sorry, that one's black there. That one's light blue, and that one is white. Don't know why I labelled it. No, that's wrong. Give me 2 secs. Let me have a look at that. Where's that one coming from? That black wire there goes down to this harness here, which is dark blue. Yep, sorry, that's right. So that's dark blue. That one's black. That one's light blue, and that one there is white. And the ground it gets is off the body of the dash. And again, plugs straight into the connector on the wiper motor. Ground that strap. Make sure you've got a good ground on it. It's got the blue wire that goes to the pump. Like I said, I just showed the ground here with a separate wire going back to the battery. Just because this this harness needs to be grounded somehow. I've just clipped on the lug to the other positive side of the battery. You'll see the switch, like I said, you can turn it on, doesn't do too much. If you've got a bad ground, it might work in low speed, but as soon as you put that onto the battery, high speed on the wiper motor, low speed wiper motor, make it park. There you go, running, off, park. That just brings the wipers back. So, not sure how helpful that was to everyone or how confusing it was. It took a while looking at other people's stuff. There's not a great deal of logical sort of stuff on there, but on the internet. But here's the actual wiring diagram. This dark blue, let me get a screwdriver instead of using my fat finger. You can see on the wiring diagram here, that yellow wire there, I've texted these in yellow because it was a black and white drawing. That comes from the internal part of the back of this pump, the water pump for your washers, and it goes internally inside that wiper motor. That's where it gets the yellow from, this yellow wire that's plugged into it. The dark blue wire is this one that's clipped on the front here, which is, if I take that off, you'll see there's an actual, so that goes down to the body, right? But there's an actual blue wire that goes onto a proper lug here on the front of the wiper motor. So the other ones you can see here, this yellow one that comes out of this harness here, it goes back and goes all the way around into the back of this harness here. But like I said, I just pinned it in the front there, and that yellow goes directly to the battery out of the harness. Then you've got the white wire. The white wire goes through around the back of this pin here. You can see I've brought it around, and I've brought a terminal on the back of there, and I brought it around to the actual switch, and you can see it's that staggered wire. Once off by itself. So if that's number 1, then that's number 2, 3, and 4. When I look on the back of the actual switch, there is a number 2. There's number 2 written on there, but if you look on the switch diagram, it doesn't actually show anything about numbers on the back of it. It'd be really good if it did have numbers on both. Would be easy to work out. So yeah, that white wire goes through to the switch, so you can see that's the one I haven't coloured in here. It comes out of there, runs along here. Is that in focus? Just trying to keep it focused for you. It runs along here, comes along and drops into the switch in that port right there. The black wire comes out of the wiper motor plug up here, runs through the harness. I've pinned it off so it goes in into your dash harness. Now this is simulating your dash harness. Goes into your switch at it doesn't go into your switch actually, it's just the ground wire goes into the harness. The light blue one, which is LBL, light blue, you can see it's in that first pin on this switch. It shows it in the first pin on that switch, and there's the little diagram directly above it. So dark blue. Oh yeah, the black one does go into there. The black one goes in this second pin. So you can see here then, we've got light blue, black, white, and dark blue. They're the colours that go into that switch. Hopefully that helps. There's a bit of a close-up of the diagram. Hopefully that's clear enough to read or see, in case people want it. And there's the pins in the back of the switch that I've used, right? So this one's a yellow, this one up here is the yellow, this one on this side closest to me is the black. So the closest side goes black, dark, it goes black, dark blue, yellow, light blue, and white is that bottom one. So they're the wires that you need to put in there to connect up, and that's the way you wire them into your switch. So if you got any more dramas, or you want a photo or something sent to you, let me know. Hopefully dark blue, black, light blue on there, and the white label there, and the ground where my thumb is there. Hopefully that helps out. And again, just make sure your dash has a good ground, otherwise it's not going to send those wipers home. Okay, hopefully that little video was helpful to you. Definitely tested my patience with the car, especially once you go looking for credible information from other people. So the reason why we took off the pump off of the actual wiper motor here, and it's wired through this actual harness now, and you can see, because we wanted to use this WB overflow tank and the WB wiper washer tank, you can see where the hose comes in the bottom here, and you can see the plugs that come in the bottom down here, right? So when I go into the car now, and if I press the wipers, you'll hear so wipers are running. Press the button for the washer, you'll hear it. So that, obviously that will squirt out of those squirters that stick out of here on the Kiwis, and you can see the arm sort of rolling around down the bottom down there. Yeah, so actually it won't go home because I haven't got that ground back on. Yeah, but hopefully that helps out. That was the reason why it was a bit more difficult, because we changed all the plug wiring around, and when you smooth the firewall and make it look pretty nice like that, you really should mark your firewall. I didn't do that. I just pretty much filled in every hole I could find. Some of them I had to re-drill. I mean, I left the main one down there for the main harness. I left the one there for the speedo cable. There's one under there also that comes around for the wire, for the pull wire for the bonnet latch. And I left the three for the wiper motor. There was two I left for the squirters for the wiper motor. Then had to re-drill some new ones to fit that brake clutch master cylinder, or slave cylinder, master cylinder. So yeah, just mark your firewall, make sure you've got everything that you need before you do your smoothing, before you do your welding. I also mounted the ID plates, the tags. You can see they're in there. They've got the correct rivets that Holden uses. They're some costly little numbers. They're $60 for, I think it cost me $60 for 6 rivets. Anyway, if you're going to make it right, you might as well do it right, eh? Anyway, if you like what I'm doing, like I always say, hit the like button, share it with some mates that may have the same problem. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Leave a comment. If you want a question asked or something, let me know what's going on. And I'll endeavour to get back to you as soon as I can. Hopefully this dash fascia will go in this week. You can see there's a bit of a mess on the ground down here. I'm about to mount that Vintage air conditioning switch, which will be pretty good. Once that's in, wiring will be finished. I'll get the ground sorted under the dash, test everything one last time, fit the fascia. Steering column can then go up, which it goes up like this anyway. Then steering wheel can go on, dash pad on. All I've got to do then is run a few. I've got the duct that comes through here, which is the air for vents, and the other ones I've got to run through for the air conditioning. So getting close. Anyway, don't forget, if you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Really helps me out. Helps get the word around to people too about what I'm doing. And I'll keep trying to get these videos out to you as often as I can. I try to do minimum 1 a week, sometimes 2 and 3, depending on what I'm up to. So maybe tomorrow night I'll start doing that air conditioning wiring, and I'll show you what's happening there. Okay, thanks again for watching, guys. See you later.